I haven't slept in 3 days. I keep on looking at my son. As for my son, he is only 5 years old. He plays, he sleeps, he eats, he watches Cocomelon, and that is it. I am not a father right now, a good father, because I am owing the devil a lot, and I don't know how am I going to be able to finish this debt that I owe to the devil. I worked for Transnet for 15 years. I thought that I was a big man because I was part of a copper syndicate. We used to strip the lines, making side money. But then in 2009, that was when the law caught up with me. I was facing 25 years. This meant that I was finished. Back in 2008, I was the man at Transnet. I was not just an employee. No, I did not wait for my salary date. I wanted money. I drove expensive cars. And there was one white guy who said this to me: "You blacks, when you do something, you want the whole world to see. You can just be doing whatever that you are doing, then you are driving a cheap car. No one will even suspect that you are involved in some illegal deals, but why buy all of these expensive cars?" I told him that he will never understand, because as a black man, you are born with those things not being there. You want to show the world that you have finally made it. There are those uncles, those aunties, those ones, you know them, that used to hide the food when you would have gone on holiday to their houses. You want them to see you driving a G-Wagon so that they can know that now you have made it in life. So I told him that this was the difference between us blacks as well as white people. And he said, "Hey, that is going to be your downfall." I was an inside man for a massive copper syndicate. They would strip cables worth millions and millions, and I was living like a king. Those days when you will hear that there is a train that has been standing still, or a train that has been burnt to the ground, I was also part of such a syndicate that would provide the necessary details in order for those people to steal the cables, and then they would sell them somewhere else, because globally this is like a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there are a lot of whites that are involved in that industry. I had a house which was very nice. I had a Mercedes. I had the ego, and I looked down upon other people that did not have money. I thought that I was untouchable. It was in early 2009. My oh my, that was a very bad year for me. I was arrested and they froze everything. My bail, it was set at a ridiculous amount because they wanted to make an example of me. I was going to be facing 25 years in a cage. My lawyer said to me, "Grootman, you are FUCKED. Unless if you have a miracle, you are going down, Baba." That was when a Mozambican guy that we used to sell copper to, the guy, I'll call him Xavier, he started to speak with me. He was a good man. When my wife told him that I was arrested, to my surprise, this man, he came to me. One thing about the brothers from other countries, they will never abandon you. When you are arrested, if they are able to make plans for you, they will make plans for you. He visited me in the cell. He did not offer like money. I told him, and he told me that my wife had been begging for money, and he said, "Guys, I can't offer you a loan. There is something that I am working on, but I can give you something that no money can ever buy." He said the law is for those people that are not connected to the spiritual realm, and I am not here to judge you. I want you to be like the one who owns this earth. You are facing 25 years. Your life is over anyway. why don't you make a sacrifice? And I could not understand what sacrifice he was talking about. And then he said that he knew a guy that would help me to do ukutwala. Listen here, I was a guy that was behind bars, no connection, no what. On the outside, I had left my very beautiful woman. When I would think about the way that my wife was beautiful, I would cry throughout the night, thinking about what and how other men were going to take advantage of her. Since we did not have money by then, she had moved back to Eastern Cape to stay with her brother. In the meantime, it was a very difficult period for him, and this I knew. So I wanted to make a quick decision so that I can be able to get out of prison. I was desperate, and fear makes you crazy. I asked him what he meant. He told me about a village, and he told me that if I can go to that village, I'll be able to be helped by the marine spirits. He said that I did not need money for bail as such, but I just needed to get into the head of those that were prosecuting me, as well as the judge, so that they can let me go. Legally so, but the whole story would have started in the spiritual realm. He told me to think about my 2-year-old daughter that I loved the most. I did not understand why he told me to think about my daughter as I was about to make this decision. I later found out why he had told me to make a proper decision and not to just think about running out of the prison with the help of the spirits. And I did not want to spend the rest of my life wasting away in a prison. I told myself that, these are just African stories. I did not believe in the occult then. I told Xavier, fine, if you can help me to get out, I'll do it. A week later, the lead witness against me disappeared and things started to happen. I walked out of court a free man, but that day when I was in Mozambique, my brother, that was when I knew that the spirits, when they give something to you, they will demand something from you. Like what Xavier had told me, you are going to get out of prison, then we go to Mozambique. I had already forgotten about going to Mozambique, and then that was when this man told me that I was supposed to go with him to Mozambique, for the healer wanted to see me face to face. He wanted to see his miracle. A man that was going to be sentenced 25 years in prison, now walking scot-free. And then we went to Mozambique. When we went to Mozambique, that was when I was told that I had to sacrifice my daughter. I said, my daughter? What do you mean? I can't sacrifice my daughter. She is only 2 years old, and I had given my daughter my mother's name. And I said, do you know what it means in our culture? When you have given your daughter your mother's name, it means a lot. Heaven will punish me if I try to attempt to do such a thing. He then said, oh, well, it's fine if you do not want to give me your child so that I can use a spirit. You are going to return back to prison. I am telling you this. But you can choose to be free. You can choose to be a rich man. You can have the same amount of money that you had before. I was a fool who believed the devil when the devil told me that it is a once-off sacrifice. That was all that was needed. My daughter's blood. My daughter, she died. By 2015, I started to notice something that was kind of strange in my business that I was running. The wealth was starting to dry up. No matter what I did, the funny thing about it, my credit score, it was awesome. I went to the bank. We had everything, and the bank was supposed to chip in and give me some money for the business rescue. But no matter how hard I tried, nothing was working. That was when my old colleagues started calling me again. The copper syndicate, they wanted me to return back to those deals that I used to do with them, for I had a lot of people that I used to work with. But then I started to notice that the police were sniffing around now and again. When I would drive out of the estate, there would be an unmarked vehicle that would always follow me. And I knew that this was the police that were busy following me around, trying to catch me in the act. And I knew that if I did something that was funny, I was going to prison. By then, my brother, I had remarried. We had a beautiful 4-year-old daughter. I thought that I was safe. I thought that my daughter, whom I had sacrificed back then, the debt was fully paid in 2009, just like the healer had told me that the blood was needed only one time. He did not tell me that when he said that the blood is needed only one time, he meant that any child that came out of me, that child was supposed to be sacrificed. And then that was when I started to see people that would appear randomly in my house. The first few days, I thought that I was losing my mind. I would be sitting in my office. Then all of a sudden, I will see a man. Usually this man, he would be walking around on my lawn. Sometimes I would see that person walking in the hallway of my house. When I would call out to that person, my wife would then ask me whom I was talking to, and I would feel shy to tell her that there is someone that is with us in our house, because if there was such a person in our house, my wife was supposed to see as well that we had someone that was in the house. I knew that these people that I was seeing, they were for real, because they would look at me and laugh. Soon after, I would have told my wife that I can't see anything. I just thought that I had seen someone. Oh, it's nothing. Then those people would appear and start laughing at me. I then contacted Xavier and I told him that these were some of the things that were happening in my life, and I thought that I had bought my freedom in 2009. He said, no, the freedom that you think that you bought in 2009, it was not a gift as such. He said, think of it as someone who owns a house, then you go and you lease that house maybe for a year. You can stay in that house, but once the contract is over, it is over. I said, Xavier, what are you trying to tell me? He then said to me, it is because your contract is over. What you need to do as for now is that you need to renew your contract. If you want to keep the house, if you want to keep the cars, and if you want that not guilty verdict to stand, you need to top up the account. Think of it as you topping up your airtime. I fought him. I told him that I could not do it. I told him that I was a changed man. That was when Xavier said to me, I need to show you something. So me and him, we went to Mozambique. We arrived in his village. What I saw, it was the most disturbing thing that I had ever seen in my entire life. You know what Xavier does, brother, whenever he sacrifices his children? Before the burial, they remove a tooth from the child that would have passed away, and he keeps them. He showed me 40 of them. He has had 40 kids that he has sacrificed, but these kids, he has had them with different women. Xavier was even boasting that there was a time when he once impregnated more than 15 women in one single year. They all gave birth in the same year, and he was laughing as if it was nothing. He showed me the tooth that belonged to all of his kids that he had sacrificed, and it was inside of a clay pot. That was the most disturbing thing that I had ever witnessed in my entire life. I was scared when we went to the traditional healer, because I was taken into another forbidden room. When I was inside that room, that was when I was told to look at the wall. As I was looking at the wall, they gave me some soft porridge, which I had to drink. And after drinking that soft porridge, and then I started to see visions. I started by feeling dizzy. Then I saw visions of things that were happening in the wall. I saw a new investigator that had been assigned to my case, who wanted my blood and who had found old Transnet files, and they wanted to reopen the case and the panic that I felt on that day. I looked at my lifestyle. I was living a good life. I could not go back to being a broke prisoner. So what I did, my brother, I took my family on a holiday in 2016. I told my wife that we were going to a luxury resort in Shai Shai. One night, whilst she was sleeping, I took my daughter and then I just put some water on her forehead. She even woke up and she said, "Daddy, what are you doing?" Because she was in another room. And when I put this water on her forehead, my heart just started bleeding with pain because of what I saw in my daughter's eyes. It was love that was written all over her face. I returned back to the bedroom and I covered my face because I was shedding tears. My daughter passed away when we returned back to South Africa. Guess what happened? There was one guy who was the lead investigator. He was not yet even investigating my case. This was a random guy that was just working on another case. Then he died in a car accident a couple of weeks, and the healer, he appeared in my study room whilst I was busy with some work thing, and then he said, "That man that was going to trouble you in the future, I have dealt with him. You will never see him anymore." From 2017 to 2022, I lived like a god. We were living a good life. I had another son in 2021. He is my pride and joy. I have called him Junior. I promised myself that I would protect him with my life. I thought that I had retired from the rituals. I thought that the blood of my daughters had bought me a lifetime of peace. But in late 2023, that was when it started. One day, I was in my study. My laptop started acting up. When I would be watching TV, then the TV will switch itself off, and sometimes it will switch itself on. And I would always feel that there is a presence with me in the room. And then that was when I saw the healer again. Like now he is very old, this man. He can't even walk. But when he comes to my house, he acts as if he is still a young man. And then he says to me that he wants my son. When he told me that he wanted my son, I said, "No, I can't, gents. This is my last child. This is my son." And that old man, he just looked at me and he said, "Look at you now. You are 50 years old. If I take back my powers that are protecting you, you are going to die in prison. Do you think that you will be able to get out of prison at this age? You are going to die in prison." He told me that I have everything because of him. He said, "Do you want to lose all of this wealth because of a son? You can have other kids in the future." Money rituals will make you go crazy. Let me tell you of a story. I once went close to Komataput border. It was me and my son Junior. I was scared by the time that we arrived there and we drove back to Gauteng. My wife, she does not even know that this is what I once did to our son. I was sitting there about to cross into Mozambique, sitting there looking at this boy. He has his mother's eyes. He had no idea that his father was about to smuggle him into Mozambique. I looked at myself and I saw a very wicked man and I started crying. He did not even understand what was happening because already I had communicated with the children of that Sangoma in Mozambique that I was going to be bringing my boy. And then I just switched off my phone. I drove through the night and I returned back to Gauteng. My wife, she does not even understand what is going on. I am stuck between two worlds. I know still that if I do not cross that border going to Mozambique, who knows, maybe this case, one day you will hear it on the news that there is a guy that has been arrested for something that he did way back in 2009. I don't think that I will survive if it happens that I'm going to get arrested because already I have a problem with hypertension, and it is because of the way that I have been thinking over and over. Sacrificing your own child, it is not an easy. I have 2 graves in my heart, and now I am about to look at a 3rd grave. I asked myself once I was really drunk. I was with a slave queen who did not understand what was happening in that moment. If she was a highly spiritual person, she could have maybe woken up and told me that she was going to leave the room in which we were sleeping, because I looked at her and I started crying, and she thought that I was too drunk. She was laughing at me as I was asking her, what is the purpose of money if the money that you have can't protect your son? What is the purpose of living when you live in fear, knowing that death is forever knocking on your door and it wants to take your son? She just thought that I was too drunk on Hennessy, but no, I was not drunk. I was actually telling her the truth, pouring out my soul to her, but she did not understand because she was not spiritually enlightened. We made love, we slept. The next day she asked for her money. I gave it to her and we went our separate ways. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother right there. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world. Apologies, yesterday I only uploaded 1 episode. Apologies for that. Today I will upload 3 episodes.